So, how is everyone? um, it has been 4 days since Orange Man got reelected, and I don't know how I know a lot of you are feeling all different kinds of emotions, people on my side are in absolute shock, and you probably noticed that the vibe is really different from like 2016. Like in 2016, Hillary Clinton, she lost the election, but she still won the popular vote by 3 million votes. It's just she lost the electoral college. And at the time, people on my side were like, well, the majority still don't like Trump. So we got to resist. We got to motivate more people to go to the polls. That's not the case this time. This time, Donald Trump not only won the electoral vote, he won the popular vote. And this was after COVID. This was after the January 6th insurrection. This was after he crashed the economy and gave us the worst recession since the Great Depression. It's funny, when 2016 happened, people were comparing it to 2000, when George W. Bush lost the popular vote to Al Gore but won the electoral college. And that election lasted a month. And people were on the Democrats' side were demanding a recount. Al Gore refused to concede, blah, blah, blah. This election feels more like the 2004 election, where George Bush not only won the electoral vote, he also won the popular vote. And this was after 9/11. This was after the war in Iraq. This was after all of that. And I think what my side is feeling right now is how my side was feeling in 2004. Like, how can this be? How can the country is not at all what I thought it was? And I have been involved in politics for 8 years now. Like I said, 2016 was the first election I could vote in. It's so funny. Every single presidential election I voted in has had Trump on the ticket. And who knows how many more there's going to be with him on the ticket. It's insane. But what I've learned these last 8 years of being involved in politics, I'd like to borrow a quote real quick. It's from a screenwriter named William Goldman. You may not know who he is, but chances are you've seen one of his movies. He was the screenwriter for All the President's Men, a movie that has become even more relevant now, though might be a little dated, because now we know that if Watergate happened today, it wouldn't even matter, but whatever. And another movie he wrote was The Princess Bride. So William Goldman, as we all know, is an amazing screenwriter, and he wrote a book one time about Hollywood. It's called Adventures in the Screen Trade, a personal view of Hollywood and screenwriting. And William Goldman gives his thoughts on Hollywood and screenwriting and what makes a movie a hit. And in the book, he said one line that sums up his entire view on Hollywood. And I think it sums up my view, not just on Hollywood, but on America as a whole. Nobody knows anything. Now, in the book, William Goldman was talking about Hollywood and what makes a movie a hit. And he said, in this business, nobody knows anything. Every time you make a movie, it's a gamble. And it's an educated guess. You never know what's going to hit with people. And I think that's what I've learned these last 8 years. Not just from observing politics, but in getting involved in politics. Now, I mentioned that I voted for Hillary in 2016, but in the 2016 primaries, I voted for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was the guy I voted for. He was the guy I wanted, and I was also upset that he lost the nomination, but, I rolled up my sleeves and just voted for Hillary because I didn't want Trump to get in. And then in the 2020 primaries, after Kamala Harris dropped out, and the choices were Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, I not only voted for Bernie Sanders, but I canvassed hard for Bernie Sanders. I went door to door for Bernie Sanders. I went to his rallies. I even helped some people fill out ballots. And on my Twitter, online, everybody on my feed was like, Bernie, feel the burn, Bernie 2020. I thought, like, so many young people were so excited for Bernie. I thought Bernie was going to win. And he didn't get the nomination. Joe Biden did. And what that taught me is that whatever you think about the electorate, you're wrong. If you think you know what the electorate wants, you're wrong. Because the electorate is made up of people, and people have very short memories. It's kind of like in that movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, that was released last year. Robert De Niro says to Leonardo DiCaprio, talking about the genocide against Native Americans. And in the scene, he tells Leo, what happens is people don't care. They forget. They move on. It happened in 2004, and it's happening again. And to be honest, this is why the election doesn't totally shock me. I mean, I remember a couple months ago, I made a video telling people not to get complacent, that Trump could still win. And I said this because way too many people in my own party were telling me, no, we're going to win. No, we've got so much positive vibes. And look how lovable Tim Walz is. Look how lovable Kamala is. Look how weird Trump is. Look how weird JD Vance is. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, guys, of course Tim Walz is a much, much cooler guy than JD Vance. I would much rather have a beer with Tim Walz than JD Vance. That doesn't mean that he's going to win against JD Vance. I'm sorry. You know, sometimes voters don't vote for who they're going to have a beer with or who they'd rather go to the donut shop with. Sometimes people just vote because eggs are expensive, or, you know, they feel like crime has gone up, or they feel like, you know, the country is unsafe and we need people like Trump and JD Vance to make us safe again. Like, and who knows, maybe the next election, it'll be different. Maybe Trump will do such a horrible job that by the 2026 midterms, people will be like, oh my gosh, I just want sanity again. And then we'll vote in, the Democrats will take the House and the Senate, and then they'll take the presidency again. It's like, I remember my dad, before I was born, my dad's friend was a Republican and a George H.W. Bush supporter. And when Bill Clinton beat him in 1992, he was devastated because he was thinking George H.W. Bush was a war hero and Bill Clinton is disgusting. How could America vote for Clinton? And my grandpa told my dad's friend, you know, this is politics. You know, the pendulum will swing left and right. It always swings to the far left, and then eventually it'll swing back to the far right. So I know right now it seems like we've lost this forever, that we're just always going to elect Republicans, but I'm not going to give up hope. I do think that the Democrats will win the election in 2028. If there's still an election, I'm hoping, I'm praying. But the lesson, the takeaway I hope you take from this is next time, don't get too cocky. Don't get too smug. Don't act like we've got this. Always be on your toes. As true as it was when William Goldman said it about Hollywood, and it's true now about not just Hollywood, but America, nobody knows anything.